episode of the Value Investment Group. I'm just going to say it right here, right now. Guys, this is probably one of the most substantive places, channels, anything in the world. We caught Oscar 40% in a week. We caught Palantir up like 14x. We caught Hims up huge.
AMD,
We caught
AMD,
Iron up 100%. AMD up 100% off its lows. We were
Rocket
buying the
Lab,
dip.
Rocket
We were
Lab,
we bought Rocket Lab up 65% since I bought it 3 weeks
Circle,
ago.
Circle,
MP
Circle,
up
IPO,
50%. We called
Circle.
out Circle. We called it everything. We called it
Hood.
all out. We called out Hood. We got guys in this chat put in a house, a literal house, cost of an entire house in a nice area into Hood. And you guys are sleeping on us. I don't know what
I'm
else to say.
sleeping.
I don't know what else to say, but that's all in the past. Everybody in this group is making money. Mostly paper gains. Let's be real. We're making paper gains. I like to sell long-term realized gains because the tax rate is 15%, and if I make over 550,000 on that, might do it this year. Might be close.
Hey, might have to pay a little bit
Then it
more.
goes up to 20%, which is a lot better than that 37% highest federal rate. So we'll leave it at that. Just want to let everybody know that this is the real deal. We got some serious individuals here, and this is probably not going to be free for too much longer. Anyway, moving on. There's a few stocks I want to be talking about with everyone here. I'm going to be doing a dive on IREN. Like I said, like you guys know, when IREN in April was at $5.50 shares, I considered, it was kind of a half joke. I considered full porting, but honestly, I was considering going super, super heavy. I added to IREN a little bit. I added another, like at 7, I added 8, I added 9, I added 10, 11, even added like $12. I got some crazy long out the money puts. But IREN has taken off. I mean, this might be a ship that it's approaching a level that it's rejected before. And if it passes this level, I mean, realistically, we might see 18, 22, 28, 34, 48, $60 a share if the Bitcoin cycle continues. So let me just give everybody a little bit of information on the call and anyone watching. IREN so it's kind of known as a Bitcoin miner, but it's more than that. It's an energy infrastructure company. They have huge swaths of land where they are using renewable energy resources to generate electricity, which they are primarily using for Bitcoin mining. So they are based off my research, probably the most efficient Bitcoin miner. And they're also positioned for other things, right? So that energy can be used for various other purposes. They're able to get really low rates. They've created a giant infrastructure. And they're really well positioned. Obviously, they own Bitcoin too. They have a ton of assets. Their assets look to be around $2 billion. Debt is, they have debt. They took on like a $500 million convertible note. There's some debt on the books. Their revenue isn't that great, but their profit margins will expand, of course, as Bitcoin price increases. My prediction always has been we'll see 125 to 150K Bitcoin price before we see any crazy retraces. I guess we might have seen a crazy retrace to like 78 or
I
something,
mean,
but I
I
was
mean,
thinking
this
more
is
of a
what
retrace to
this is
like 50,
this is
60,000.
what's
You know,
people don't really realize that we went from 110,000 back down to what was it, 73,000, 74,000.
78, 70, maybe 77, 77, 78. Yeah, I don't think it ever hit 75 because I had some
Oh,
orders at 75 that never filled.
so we're talking about a 30%, for like about 30, 35, 40% drop.
Big
What I
drop.
think is different, because this is what I think it's actually gonna sideline a lot of people who think that they're really educated in this crypto space, and it's gonna allow institutions to really just sweep up the rest of the open Bitcoin. I think that people are banking too heavily on, let's say, an altcoin season, or let's say like a big retracement because it's historical. But I think that if you compare today's Bitcoin to you know, even the last cycle, I think that it has so much more, foundation. It has so much more confidence now and institutional backing, to the point where an FTX wouldn't collapse. If another FTX incident occurred, it wouldn't collapse the market because there's so many different companies that have such high allocations where because people will get out of Bitcoin, like I think what a lot of people have. I know a lot of people, especially big time influencers, were around 100,000. They were out and they were like, yeah, we're probably gonna see it go back to like historically 25, 30, 40,000. But I think we're on a different boat right now, and I think that we might see some, like a hyperbolic run where, yeah, we'll see a pullback, but we'll see a pullback at, from 350,000 to like 290,000. Not what people are expecting. That's just me personally. Especially if this bill pass, the big beautiful bill, there's going to be so much printing of money. I think we're already past the point of no return. Um, that's why you see Trump and all of his people are so heavily invested in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin because they understand that 37, 38 trillion dollars in debt and growing. There's no way we're already, like Ben explained, so many parts of our economy are intertwined with government aid, government assistance, that if someone actually came in, like Elon Musk, and looked at the books and said, well, we need to cut this, this, and this, they would realize that we would cripple the country. So my understanding is that
Oh,
Hey, looks like we lost him for a second there. All good. Listen,
oh, yeah,
I'll
I'm
just
back.
jump in. I mean, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, wrap up the point.
Yes,
Yep.
I'll wrap it up. So I'm just saying that don't follow the charts too much because it might leave you to end up leaving a lot of money on the table. And in the state that we are in, you think you're outsmarting the market, and there's a lot of people who sold around 85, 89,000, waiting to buy in that 70, $65,000 range that are completely sidelined. That's my point. Continue. Yeah. You're
um,
muted. You're muted.
Yeah, I just want to jump in. Nike earnings actually, stocks popping. So it was up about 3% on the day. It's up about 5.5% after hours.
yeah. So the
So Josh, you might have been.
CEOs, yeah,
Go
the
ahead.
CEO's talking right now. I think it was 5:30 he started talking. So I'm definitely gonna take a look after this on what he says with guidance and what kind of vision he has for the company. Because he is a new CEO. He's only been there for about 8 months now. So
Hmm.
um, we'll
Yeah.
see
Yeah,
what it
but
is.
but to be honest, looking at the year, we are in a serious retrace for the stock. I mean, even in I mean, the stock got absolutely decimated. Since I would say COVID, the stock was trading at 170, and it's never even
Yeah.
closely recovered to that. In
Yeah,
the
I don't think we're gonna see Nike ever go back up to 170.
yeah, it's never
I
gonna
own
have that.
Nike. My
Yeah,
average price is in the 50s, like 56 maybe. I
nice.
think I have to double check. Um, I probably would be selling all of my Nike, if I'm just looking at things, probably between 1 and 115, one maybe 120. I don't like the company that much. I think again it sells over over a hype, like decent apparel, right? Like with the giant swoosh, I have no interest in wearing any of that. So I think buying it in the 50s was kind of an easy call. It's like there were probably better calls, but it's like a defensive consumer stock, so I wanted to own a little bit. And if I can buy it at 55 and sell it at 110, double my money within a year or two, I'm very very happy with that. It's not a company I have too much interest in holding in the long term. I just think the competition is very very fierce, and I think it's becoming less and less relevant. At least in my world, it
I
might
just
not
think
be
it's
in other
super
people's world.
I just think it's super expensive for what you get at this point, at this day and age. I mean, like, 5, 10 years ago, Nike was a very different company than it is now. And especially with there's companies like Lululemon, right, where you're paying $100 for a pair of pants, but it's high quality, but at the same time, it's like there's not that many people that want to buy those type of items, right?
Well, with
There's
Lululemon, they actually have if there's like this is actually crazy that they do that. That kind of justifies the price where I've heard from a lot of girls that if there is a tear, if there is a rip, Lululemon
Yeah,
replaces.
they have lifetime warranty.
Yeah, they have a
Like,
lifetime
Yeah, and that's
warranty.
part of why they can offer such expensive
So
clothing.
that's why exactly. So that's why they can offer that at such a high price point. The problem is, you walk into Nike, you get a couple shirts, shorts, sweatshirts. You're in for about $500-600. You're in. Those a jersey. And that's the problem today, where those we're talking about those mega brands. That really true brand recognition, that swoosh. It was very important, I would say 10-15 years ago, but now we're in the economy of creators. Brands are the way. I don't know if you saw, Rihanna's brand is worth around Fenty's around $3.5 billion, and that was a side hustle for her. That was
I
literally
think it's
just I'm very successful. Let me try doing something.
Yeah,
Haley Baldwin is also a billionaire too. Now she sold her brand for in the billions.
Haley Bieber,
So
get it right. Get it right.
so
it's a Biba. She's a Biba.
Oh, so
Go and buy
my
her
bad,
maiden name.
guys. So
Don't
I
never
think that
disrespect the Biebs
I
in front
think
of
that
me.
we're in the right now. We're in the economy of like, there's so many brands, and it's kind of like influencers and people of influence are not happy anymore just getting a check and supporting a brand, even if the check is enormous, like a LeBron James size check. You're always going to make a lot more money creating a product and backing your own product. And that's why now today, Nike doesn't have the same pull. It doesn't have the same pull.
I think a
If
It
lot of
doesn't have the
it.
Steve
same pull. It's not even close. It's not
I
even
if
close.
I
Steve
think
if
a lot of
Steve
it
came
is
out,
celebrity. I do
yeah,
like that point with influencer. Yeah, a lot of it I think is celebrity brands now and just like simplicity. Like things like Lululemon, right? Simple.
Yep.
Like, Cuts, Built, like all these other brands. It's just simple, good quality stuff. And then there's like celebrities making all these brands with whatever they want and supporting your influencer or
Yeah.
celebrity of choice. That's kind of like what it seems like it's
Yeah,
going.
yeah. I think there's a lot more
Essentially
important
economy.
things than kind of like brand loyalty now. Again, will Nike stock it's $66 right this second? Is it more likely that it goes to 100 or 40? I think it's
yeah.
very much more likely that it goes to
But
100.
just
Can a
the
while
last
continue to
the
hold it a
last
little bit
point with
longer.
the last point with the
Go ahead.
brands is that, if you look back, look at even if you look at the super successful brands, it's the first people, actors, influencers that created their own product. George Clooney created Casamigos. You know what I'm talking about? We're talking about once people realize that they could use their influence to market. That's it. People don't.
Yeah.
People are
I mean,
buying.
it doesn't always work, but yeah, it is
If you're the
powerful.
right influence, I mean, then the market gets saturated, obviously. So, but that's the problem with these major brands, and that's why across the board they're going to get hit, especially in the male fields. In the women fields, there's still going to be, a lot of different. I mean, it's just a bigger market. But for men,
Well,
if you
do you
want to buy
think
sports gear, I could think of like a bunch of different companies now. That I would probably get before.
so? What do
Um,
you think Nike has to do? Do you think they need a rebrand? Do you think they need to lower
I think they
prices?
need
Like
to
what?
lower their prices. I mean, they can't be this top of the. I mean, look, we're paying top notch. You're literally paying top dollar for this stuff, and it's being made in the same factories as the stuff from TJ Maxx, which is
Yeah, it's
cheap.
not great
That, that,
quality.
that's why a company like TJ Maxx
Yeah, that's why
will
I
never,
mean,
will never go out of business, because you can go at any time, any day. It's good value deals, and guess what? There are people who are on a certain wage in this country, a large like portion of people, that they're not going to buy Nike for their kids.
I'll
They're
say
gonna,
this. I'll say this. I'll say this. I go
Nike's a
shopping at
middle class.
H&M.
Nike's a middle guys. Clip
Nah, H
this.
and M's another.
Nike is for middle class, but there's going to be no middle class in about 10 years. So all
Yo,
those products, it's gone.
Listen, I'll say this. Whatever, people can do whatever they want, but I shop at H&M. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, bro, it's for brokies." And it's like, "Well, you know what? I'm able to reinvest 90% of my money into stocks, into crypto, and been riding the wave heavy." So,
H and M's
I
good
think people
for. I think
I
just
think
H and M's good
people
for a couple wears. Like
yeah, no, no, no. I wear H&M clothes for like 4 years, 5 years, no
really.
issues. Yeah, because
All
you got
right.
to know how to wash your
Don't
clothes.
clip
But
that.
anyway,
Don't
speaking on
clip that.
apparel,
Don't clip that one.
speaking
They're
speaking
gonna
on
think
apparel,
they're gonna think we're broke.
I took a starter position in Abercrombie and Fitch. I like ANF. Their PE ratios are very, very low. It's low key. They don't have that logo thing anymore, which I think is good. I think people still the brand recognition, the name is still very valuable. I think it brings back a lot of nostalgia. Honestly, it's
I don't
down
think
54% year to date. And it's up on a 5-year chart. It's up 650%, which means it was up 1,600. It was up 1,700% almost in June of 2024. It's now down 50. It's down over 50% from June 2024. Down about 50% on the year. I think it's a good buy here. I think we're gonna see it go back. I bought it a little below $79 a share. I think a fair price is probably somewhere around like $90 to $100 a share, and I think it'll probably run up to 140, 150, 160, and I'll probably be exiting most of the position if we do see it at 160, unless fundamentals have significantly changed. So I think that's kind of an easy, slower cook. But again, when I say slower cook, I'm saying maybe a year and a half. But also could happen in 3 to 6 months. So I like that play. That's a new addition for me. Um, what were you gonna say, Josh?
No, with Abercrombie, it's like, yeah, like people understand, people know what Abercrombie is and Hollister is and all that, but I think their real what was really impressive was their whole rebrand the last few years and what they did. Like they got rid of, the big Hollister letters and the big Abercrombie and like the logos and all that kind of stuff. And they're kind of going with the trends right now with the, NASCAR graphic tees and the linen, and they have good quality stuff. Like I'm wearing a t-shirt right now from Hollister. It was $13 and the quality is very good. And I'm kind of impressed with what they're doing there. Their earnings have been super good for the last 2 years. It seems like, their stores have been packed. It's no longer Hollister's no longer that dark little, that dark room that you can barely see the clothes with the cologne freaking strong. It's kind of just like a normal store now. Good clothes. I told you, Ben, I think a few days ago, I went shopping last week, and we went to a good amount of stores, probably like 10 to 12 stores in the outlets. And honestly, Hollister, for the pricing and for the quality of clothes, like it's just, I think it just outbeats
Yeah.
everything like PacSun and all those other stores. So
Yeah. And again, Hollister, Abercrombie and Fitch has a real nostalgia value. Again, I'm not saying it's the greatest thing in the world, right? I don't care too much about these companies. I'm not. I have almost zero brand loyalty to any clothing company. It's just the way it is. I don't I don't think it's that important. Um, but yeah, there is value there.
it's really
I
good
want I want
fast
to
fashion.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm wearing this shirt. This is H&M. I think this is great quality, 100% cotton, no synthetic
All right,
polyester
how
stuff
much was that from
leaking
H&M?
between like $9 and $12.
All
Bro, that's
right,
what I'm
guys,
saying.
I got you both beat.
This
I
was
got you both.
13
Guess how much this was?
Yeah.
free. I don't
Free.
know.
Free from the sponsors.
Free 99. It was
Free.
free 99.
Well,
But
everything I rock,
let's move
guys,
on.
guys, everything I
I want
rock
to I want
now,
to
sponsored by SJB Tactical. Let's go. Check it
Hey,
out.
yo,
Guys,
you gotta send us a check if you're gonna
Yeah,
be
you gotta
plugging
send a
things
check
on the
and
Value
just what
Investment
it
Group. But
said.
here's what I'll say. I want to talk about one more. Man, there's so many things we could talk about. Let's just jump into this real quick.
Tesla. You don't want to talk about
No,
Tesla?
I don't want to talk about Tesla. I don't want to talk about Tesla. We talk about it all the time. It's not too
Alright.
much happening. Let's talk about. I mean, we can if you want, but Ludnick came out and said a China deal was signed 2 days ago. Trump said his China deal was signed. Ludnick gave some context saying it was 2 days ago. I like some of these Chinese stocks. I mean, I like Baidu. I'm probably gonna buy a little bit more Baidu. I'm probably gonna buy a little bit more Pinduoduo. I mean, these companies are trading at like crazy low PE ratios. These companies have billions and billions of cash. Sometimes their market cap is 30% cash. So I don't know. I kind of like. Again, I kind of like China, especially with these trade deals. I think. I think this all was kind of just a big gambit, and it's looking like it's working out pretty well. I'm not going super heavy in China or anything, but I'll probably add a little bit consistently to my Chinese positions. And then I want to talk about UNH. This is a really really interesting company. Man, I'm looking at it. Yeah, they have a government probe. Yeah, they have this. Yeah, they have that. But again, name me a healthcare company that doesn't do doesn't violate ethics or legal or whatever when it comes to health insurance. Like they all do. And if you don't think they do, that's because you don't know that they do. Like they all, and I'll say all is in like 80% plus, probably 95% plus, but let's say 80% plus. I think the DOJ is going to probe around. I think they're going to like put the squeeze on them. I think they're going to make people scared in the space. And ultimately, I think not too much is going to happen to UNH. If that probe is kind of like comes out and it's like, oh, no wrongdoing was found. I mean, we're back to 400 a share, I would say, within a couple of weeks. It is a slow cooker though, but if you look at UNH, I mean, it fell off a cliff really quickly, right? On April 11th, it was $599 a share. By April 21st, 10 days later, it was at 425. Another 14 days later, 20 days later, it's at 275 or 250.
Well, they kept getting hit from one thing after another.
They kept getting hit.
Perfect storm, bro. I honestly, you couldn't have, if you were a short seller, you couldn't have planned it better. The CEO getting whacked, and not only does the CEO get whacked, which would already send the stock plummeting, people were backing it. Everybody was cheering it on. And the problem, my one problem with UNH is with the probes is because they are the biggest company, I hope they don't make an example out of them. I hope
that's the risk. That's the only risk I see.
I hope they don't, because like you said, every single company does it. What's the quickest way to get every other company in line? Is to chop the head off of the biggest one. But we have to assess what's the downside to what's the upside.
Yeah.
I do think we can see a possible low twos.
Go ahead.
Mid to low twos. Yeah. Worst case, I would say low twos. Worst case scenario. Mid case scenario, if it beats these probes, we're seeing a 25% day. We're seeing a 30% day. We're seeing a 400. I'm not going to tell you right now it's going to run back to where it was, because it was a little bloated. I would say a little bit at the 600. I would say at 600 was a little bit, a little overvalued. But 450, 470, I think that's base case, my personal opinion.
I mean, all we're seeing right now and what we've been seeing for the last over a month right now is just a consolidation, right? We're just ranging around the same prices. I think if we get a little leg up, we can see the 450s, like you said, and if we go down a little bit, then we can see like low twos. So whatever direction it'll make, I mean, we'll see. But I mean, I've been accumulating at these prices, so.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I think the top side is a better risk to reward than the bottom side, and we have to factor in it has a dividend, and it's kind of a defensive type of stock. I could see if the market retraces, UNH actually steadily going up, which would be nice because I've been significantly adding. So it's not great now that the market's ripping and UNH is literally going from 300 to 305, back to 300 to 305, 303. Whatever, it's fine. It gives me a little bit more time to accumulate. And when, NVIDIA goes from 150 to 160 and then 160 to 130 or 120 and UNH goes from 310 to 375, 400, that's kind of having like a balanced portfolio. So that's kind of how I look at those types of things. But yeah, I'm pretty bullish.
The value is definitely there, and like you said, they do give
again.
Pretty nice
unless now if they slam the hammer on them and they say UNH is this criminal and they're the worst and everyone else is okay, which is not true, but they all are crooks. They all are committing schemes and frauds and scams and totally abusing the taxpayer in terms of Medicaid and Medicare. Unless they want to go after all of them. And if they're only going to make an example of UNH, then yeah, I mean, we might see it go down to 220 and maybe stay there for a long, long time. Then it's going to be a question mark. I think at that point, it's still an easy buy in the low 200s because it just is. It's UNH, the biggest health insurance company in the world. So that's kind of how I think about it. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what plays out.
Real quick, Nike is up 9% after hours. So I'm definitely interested in what they're talking about. So
wow.
I'm gonna check that out.
Wow, up 11%, up almost 12% on the day. Wow. I mean, man, come on. I wanted to go up another 20, 30% and I can sell this thing. Nah, it's gonna need to go more than that. I need another 50%.
I'm gonna take a look after to make my decision because I've been in this name for it seems like a while now, and it's been real boring. And I think the opportunity cost of being in this name is kind of,
Yeah, let me look up. Let
you
me
know,
look up on Twitter. See what's going on.
I tried checking, but I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, it's crazy. Bill Ackman sold, and now it's ripping. This is why a lot of people.
Yeah, I
So a
heard.
lot of
Okay, I
people.
heard today. I heard today that he did sell out of equity, but he has options.
Oh, he might have sold and then just bought options instead.
Yeah,
He
I
might have
heard
done something like
he
that.
doesn't have
But
shares,
this
but
is
he
the
does have
problem
options.
with people like it's interesting. There was this one company called Dub. They do copy trading and stuff, and it's like one problem with following like fund managers and other people is that your strategy can be identical to theirs. You know what I mean? Like yeah, he sold this and bought options. Like, are you gonna do the same thing? You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't work. I
You
just
don't
don't
have
believe
the
in any of that
capital
stuff.
too. I mean, look, I mean, if they're unloading a couple $100 million or $1 billion in options, they could take a percent or 2%, 3%, and man, that's big money. You know, we're talking about 30, 50, 100 million, but you can't do that, and you're chasing different goals. And I think that people kind of oversimplify it. Like, yeah, I guess in the long run, if you had something that would, exactly track what's going on, maybe in shares, but you don't even find out till later. Like, I love when people are like, oh, I'm gonna track Nancy Pelosi, blah blah blah. You guys only find
You don't
out.
even find out until after they file, weeks
I
after.
mean,
You
it's
know,
like
so it's
So
a
it's 2 weeks.
yeah, but we can read it
Weeks.
out right now. So revenue was 11.1 versus 10.72. Net income was 211 versus 186. Pre-tax profit was 318 versus 233 and a half. Gross margin was 40.3%. Gross profit was 4.47 billion. So it looks good. It looks good, but again, I think we see Nike go to 90, 10, 100, 110. I really do. I think we see that, and that's why I'm holding my shares. But I don't think we ever see 170. You know, maybe 10 years from now, when the dollar is like so devalued, so much more devalued, then 170 becomes like 130 or something, or 140, 120. But I don't think we'll ever see like a inflation adjusted back to where kind of Nike was. I just don't think that's the case. It's just my guess. I think that that time period of history where Nike was like, they had Jordan and they had all this other stuff. I think that's going to be in the past, unless something crazy happens. I just don't think we're getting back to that. There's too many other competitors in the space and better and more cost-effective brands. I see Lior join. Hey, how you doing?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good,
Hey,
good. We were just talking through Nike. We talked about Iron. We talked about Abercrombie and Fitch. We talked about UNH. Let me know if you wanted to add anything on any of those names, or if you want to like talk a little bit more about something that you were looking into.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing a little bit of a deep dive on UNH because I think we were. Is this Ben?
Yeah, yeah, that's Ben. Yeah, we have Sam on. Sam's my brother, and then we have my friend Josh Rigo on as well.
Oh,
what's going
cool,
on?
awesome.
How's it going, brother?
Okay. Hey guys, how's it going? Nice to meet all of you. I'm still at work, so I can talk for a little bit, and I might have to like cut out if I get
Yeah,
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 called or
no
all good.
worries.
something.
We're already
But
winding down. Yep.
yeah, so basically, kind of like what I texted to the group last night. I've been doing like a deep dive on UNH. I don't know what you guys discussed about it, but I feel overall like I think it's an undervalued like long term play. I just mentioned that stuff with the DOJ and the civil suit. Like I don't know if like that'll really stick. So I agree with what you were saying yesterday, Ben. But I guess my concern is just that, like, in the short run, if the DOJ were to say, kind of put out anything negative, even if it was or wasn't like actually filing criminal charges, then yeah, I mean the market would like reflexively sell, so there would be like a little bit of a dip. But I think
Yeah.
long term, it's like I was looking at the 10K and the recent 10Q, and it's like they have like a strong balance sheet. So yeah, I think it's undervalued long term.
Yeah, yeah. I think the only issue with UNH is like we see the market ripping, and we see UNH, like I said, going from 300 to 305 back to 300. You know what I mean? Like we're moving
Yeah.
1.5% a day. So it's kind of like boring, and also like damn, like I should be throwing my money into other stuff. Like I was talking about Iron. Iron is up 10% in the day, 20% in a week and a half, stuff like that. But again, I think UNH is a slow cooker, and unless they get singled out by the government and really like penalized super, super heavily for stuff I think most insurance companies are doing, um, I think we see them back to 400 plus, and probably within a year, year and a half, maybe 2 years. So that I think those returns are going to be better than the S&P 500 on a company like UNH right now for sure. Um, but we'll
Yeah,
have
I
to see what
agree.
happens. I mean, if it dips down to like 250, I'll have to buy more. If it dips down to like 200, I'll have to buy even more. Unless we kind of get information that the business is like totally dead in the water and like going to be way less profitable than it's ever been. But right now, it's really like at 2017, 2018 prices, I think.
And
So
Yeah.
honestly,
that's
with the
not making too
markets
much sense.
ripping, with the markets like almost breaking all-time highs here, I think UNH is kind of like one of the only names that might have the best value, honestly. I mean everything is just ripping, so it's hard, kind of hard to accumulate anything else at these levels.
Yeah, and there's always opportunities. That's what I've realized in the markets. Like there's always opportunities, and sometimes it's like, why does this doesn't even make sense? Why is this an opportunity? But there's always an undervalued company. So yeah, UNH is one of the biggest companies in the world. You have Tesla, you have Nvidia hitting all-time highs, Meta getting close, Microsoft at all-time highs, Google a little bit far off, Apple significantly far off. But you have a lot of companies at all-time highs, Palantir crazy, crazy all-time highs, and then you have UNH, and it's like, yeah, this might just be the opportunity to buy. So I think it's kind of a welcome sight to see a company that big, that public, potentially be a company that could double in 2 to 3 years realistically.
I think
Yeah, definitely. Oh, sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
no, no, go ahead. It's a different topic.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna ask. I probably missed this because I think you guys already talked about iron, but I was wondering. I mean, it's definitely like it's on a tear. And I'm just curious, like, what do you guys see for the future of it? Do you think that it's like a great company long term? Do you think that it's more just for like a short term
Yeah.
play? Like,
Yeah. There's an answer to this, and it's kind of two parts. So I have options contracts on iron, and then I have shares on iron. My options contracts vary from expiring in like December of 25 to December of 26. So very far out, and some of them I've owned for over a year already. So um, I I think Iron fundamentally is a good company, and I think long term it's going to be a good company. Now, if we see Bitcoin rip to 150, 200, 250, like if it rips quickly, I mean a company like Iron and then the weeks after and that could go up 10x, right? Now,
right?
at that point it's probably going to be extremely overvalued unless Bitcoin continues the rally, but I don't think you know what I'm saying? So I'm ready to take profits on Iron if we see crazy jumps. Like if we see iron kind of slowly, this year end up 30% up and next year 40%. Like I'm not going to be looking to take profits so suddenly because I do fundamentally think it's a really low cap company and, if it becomes one of the major data center companies with AI and everything and the fact that data centers are going to be so it's a data center kind of energy center company is going to be so important. Like I could see the valuation going to 10, 20, 30 billion with enough stuff happening, right? And that would be
Yeah,
10x from here if not more, and that would actually like be a justified valuation. But if it's like a really crazy pump, I would have to sell probably the options contracts first, everything that's in like long-term gains, and then start trimming shares. But I don't plan on selling iron if Bitcoin um if Bitcoin doesn't reach 125, I'm not going to sell iron. That's kind of just been my decision. I'm going to go big or go home.
yeah,
I didn't go crazy size into a company like iron. I should have went heavier, and then I could just, I'm up 100% on half my port. I could just sell half of it and be good. Um, but I'm gonna kind of wait for the home run, and that's my point of view on a lot of the miners. I have a lot of them. At this point, iron is my second biggest position after Hut, just because I got such a good entry on Hut over a year ago. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I'm
Shout out
I'm
to
not in a
Benji for the
rush to
on
sell
Hut.
it. Yeah, I like iron the most out of all the miners. That's what I will say. I think it has the strongest foundation, and even if Bitcoin like goes to like 125 and stays there, I think its price is the least kind of related to Bitcoin. Whereas like I think Hut has so much Bitcoin on their balance sheet that their market cap is really impacted by it. Mara,
I disagree.
what do you think?
I think my game plan solely for Iron is I do agree with you to an extent with the data centers and the energy and all that, and I think they have amazing goals with the company, and I think it's headed in the right direction. But I think no matter what, it's gonna follow the price of Bitcoin. I think if Bitcoin rips another leg up, I'm looking to sell probably my whole position, and I'm not gonna get
What do
attached
you
to
mean by another leg up? Like what does that mean?
if I see Bitcoin hitting like, 112, 115, 120 again, I'm going to sell on the way up because Iron is going to follow Bitcoin on the way up, just like the other miners. Um, so I mean,
Bro. I mean, you can do whatever
bro,
you want.
it
I think
will,
that
dude. It does it every time.
I think selling if Bitcoin goes to 112, 150 and you're selling like all of your iron, I mean, bro, the miners catch up after Bitcoin typically. You know what I mean? Because they make a lot of their money
Yeah,
by
but
selling
that's
Bitcoin.
if Iron is going with Bitcoin. If Iron is just stagnant and Bitcoin's going up, obviously I'm gonna
Mhm.
hold. But like I'm saying, if Bitcoin is going up and Iron holds and then eventually it goes up, then I'm gonna sell it. If it goes down, then I'm just gonna probably I don't know. I'm probably just gonna hold it.
Yeah. I'm probably not selling iron below like $20 a share. 18 to $20 would be and that would be my average price is about 6.5 or something. So
I wrote it
I would
down.
like to
I
get
wrote it
at least
down from $10 to what was it? $5. So if I'm
yeah.
willing to lose, if I'm willing to risk at least half my position, I'm at least gonna go for a double. That's just my thinking. Where I'm in the same camp where I'm not looking to sell until 19, 20. I mean, that's where I'm at right
Yeah, again,
now.
I mean, I
I
think we
think
get in the
I've always thought
20s.
Bitcoin would go to 125. That was just always I'm like I think Bitcoin will go to 125 plus. So
I
we'll
think
have
we
to
get
see
in
what
the
happens.
20s for sure with Iron, and I'll look to like start trimming, but um,
Well,
I'm not
Ben,
waiting for the $100 level like Ben was saying earlier. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean
if you're on a
at
long term hold it, go for that, go for it. But
I'll say this. I think that if you really think that, I mean, I'm thinking that it's going to go way higher than 125. But if you're really committed on 125, on Kalshi right now, you could probably lock in something. If you're trying to gamble on that, you could probably lock in a really good rate on is it going to hit it by the end of the year, 125, because I'm thinking that if it runs, I mean, once because there's a huge wall right at what was it at 112, what we were
mhm.
at
Yep,
111,
yep,
111.9.
112, yeah.
I think if we push past 112, we're seeing 125, and then it's onwards from there. I mean, listen, it's all speculative, of course, but
Yeah,
like
I
I
mean
said,
that's all
if
speculative,
that
but you have to kind
happens,
of
if
tie
that
it back
happens,
in, yeah.
Iron could be at 40. It
well,
could be
have
at
you seen?
$40.
I don't know how much like technicals you guys like or whatever, but if you've seen the actual trend line at 112, it's pretty insane. And if it breaks that level, we're kind of like the trend line goes all the way back since like 2017 highs, and that trend line hits 2017 highs with the 2021 highs, and now it's hitting the 2025 highs. And if it
Yeah.
breaks that trend line, it can yeah, I mean it's I
Yeah, I
don't know
mean
how
listen,
Go up. It
there's
can
a
hit 2 times.
million digital acquisition companies being spun out.
there's
Jack
so many
Mallers has them, a big one. Anthony Pompliano has a big one. MicroStrategy is a giant one. Companies are buying Bitcoin
countries
on
are
their balance
buying
sheet. Like
ETFs,
we're literally like
401k,
again, I
bro.
don't even I think it's so Ponzi like. I think it's such a Ponzi, but it doesn't matter because if enough people are participating, the price will go up, and the miners are the one actually producing the Bitcoin. So,
And now you can
um,
put it up for
yeah.
collateral to take out a mortgage, which is
Yeah.
Yeah,
kind of insane.
exactly. I don't think that's gonna be as big of a deal as people think it is, because I think a lot of people don't like they're not really publicly displaying their Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Like if people actually knew how much Bitcoin was centralized, and the fact that there's probably like 5,000 people that probably have like 30 to 50% of all the Bitcoin, maybe 70% of all the Bitcoin, like people would be freaking. People actually would not like that at all, in my opinion.
I mean,
Um,
how much, how much, if you mean, look at fiat, what is the
it's not as.
thousand,
I think it's worse in
what are
crypto
the
because again,
thousand,
because the
yeah,
truth
but,
is, the truth
wait,
is,
wait, but this,
people have like
wait.
1,000
Yeah,
different wallets for one
I
person.
understand that a certain amount of people have a lot, have a very big concentration, but there's how much was lost, how much is, like Michael Saylor says, that he doesn't have any heirs, he doesn't have any wives, that's going to go into the ether. How much is that
Now,
going
whoa,
to
whoa,
be?
whoa, 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 whoa,
Wait, what?
that, yeah, it's not going into the ether. It's that's not how it works. But
Yeah, but he's not going to
it'll be
sell it.
passed.
I mean,
Well, he's
it's
probably gonna put it in something that like makes it like so you can't sell the Bitcoin. But again, Michael Saylor is the key man risk. If he sells one Bitcoin, if MicroStrategy sells one Bitcoin, then the price of Bitcoin, in my opinion, will go down 10 to 20% immediately, because people now know, oh, the infinite buyer, who hasn't been able to get it past
Yeah.
112, he's not an infinite buyer
But
anymore.
what
He's a
happens
Yeah,
if
perfect
he's
but
an
seller.
infinite
there's
buyer?
this, but there's big institutions that are actively trying to suppress the price because they're allocating their funds right now to accumulating Bitcoin. You do realize that there are people who are actively trying to suppress the price.
Yeah, but by suppressing the price, you do that by selling. You know
Bro,
what I'm
the thing
saying?
that scares
So
me is like, yeah, Michael Saylor's an infinite buyer, but what if he starts like, what if he's an infinite buyer and 5 years from now he owns like 15 to 20% of the supply? That's also not a good
yeah,
look.
exactly. Like again, it's a Ponzi, and that's why I say it's there's risks here. I'm not, and that's why I like a company like Iron, and I'm not talking about a company like Hut right now, because Hut to me is more of kind of a Bitcoin miner. They're obviously doing some energy stuff, but I think Iron is just ahead of the curve. And if the Bitcoin thing doesn't work out, they can pivot to data centers and other stuff. So that's why I like it's a leverage bet on Bitcoin, but it's also insurance on some other stuff too. And I mean, I'm heavy Bitcoin and heavy all that stuff, so I hope it all works out. But I don't want to bet. I'm not buying Iron because I solely think Bitcoin's gonna like go into the stratosphere.
What makes you what? So I was thinking about this earlier today. What gives you that actual comfort of Bitcoin sticking around and actually being like a like this is the real deal type of thing?
I don't
Like
know.
the
I mean,
next
I don't know. I just think there's enough people like in high levels, like the Trump admin and like whatever, that they're not going to be the ones to nuke their own bags. So for the next 3 years, I think we're safe. If the new administration comes in and they're super anti-crypto, then yeah, Bitcoin could go to $10,000 a coin. I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's not going to.
But then it
ETH
does
could go to
usually
300 bucks.
what the president sees it usually does rotate from blue to red, right? So
Yeah, but I'm not worried about that. It's 3 years later. I can sell all my Bitcoin at any second. I can sell all my miners at any second. I can sell any crypto. So I'm gonna be worried
no, I
about
know,
that
but
before the like a few months before the election. I'm not even
I
thinking
think
about
that
that right
that
now.
exact sentiment is gonna allow a lot of institutions to take the bags of people who should have held. That's just what
but
I'm
I
thinking.
want to get to the point that
If
I
you think
don't
about,
think
listen,
so.
if you think about anything, if you mean if you think that Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme, man, like don't even let me start telling you about the U.S. dollar. I mean, that's the biggest Ponzi scheme in the world. We've printed how much of the supply in the last 5 years, and we're about to print so much more. It's completely devalued. Nothing's worth what it's supposed to be worth, and that's okay. I think that it's a lot of, you know, I feel like if people who I don't want to like if you think about something too hard and you get too speculative of anything, you could find the flaws in anything. You know what I mean? It's what if tomorrow a new company comes and iPhones are no longer existent? You know what I mean? Anything could like in real life, anything could possibly happen. But I from what I'm seeing, the same argument you guys have right now, people have been saying since it was at $100. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. I mean, people have said it at $1,000, at $10,000, at $100,000, and at $1 million, someone's gonna say the same exact thing. At $1 million, someone's gonna be like, "Whoa, blah, blah, blah." And I think that I just think that it's kind of the future. It just it just how people perceive the internet first, and they didn't really
Yeah,
understand
but
it.
what is that true? What is the true argument here, though? Like, I understand the U.S.
Well, the true
dollar is
argument is that
they're
there's
always
20
printing and stuff,
there's
but
it's a finite thing. That's just as much as it is. I mean, What is the interesting value of a diamond or gold? You know what I mean? There is none. I mean, it's shiny.
These are big economic questions.
Yeah, I
We're not
mean,
gonna
listen,
figure it
that's
all
the
out on the
thing. It's
call.
like if we talk about anything long enough, we'll kind of you kind of can poke holes through anything. But I'm just thinking, in my personal
Yeah.
opinion, it's it's kind of gonna it's kind of
Well, it's kind of
revolutionary.
like it is a finite thing, and I'm all for Bitcoin. I'm just trying to get your take. I'm just trying to see like what's going on, and like, I hopefully this is a long term hold for me, and I think I do believe in it. But at the same time, it's like, can't anything be a finite amount if you and it's isn't it social arbitrage at the end of the day? Isn't it like
100%.
a
Again, people are
social?
buying
I
Bitcoin
feel
because
like
the price goes up.
Well,
Go ahead.
yes, yes and no.
my feeling is that like Bitcoin, to me, it is somewhat different than gold. Like you asked about gold. So I mean, gold is a conductor of electricity. I mean, there are some like practical functions for it, but regardless, I feel like we've gotten to a point where there are enough big players who own Bitcoin. The institutions are starting to collect Bitcoin. So I think it's here to stay. Whether you could argue whether it's like it'll be used in transactions or not. I think that like I hear from a lot of financial advisors who used to never tell their clients to buy crypto, but now that you can buy crypto ETFs, now they're all about it. They're like, yeah, you should diversify your portfolio.
Yeah. Well,
Everybody
they just
should
want
own
to
some
make money,
crypto.
you know.
Right, right. They
Yeah.
just want to skim off the top, and if they have a way of doing it, they'll tell their clients to get in it. But I do also think that I don't remember which one of you were saying this, but I do feel like the institutions are going to try to manipulate the price. They are going to try to suppress it so that they can, they can buy more, then they'll pump it up. I think that there's a lot of room for manipulation with it. I'm kind of curious, like, what your thoughts are about cycles or what will happen between now and the next halving, or like where you think pricing will go from where we are now.
So I kind of spoke on this a little bit earlier. I think before you jumped on, I kind of said that the historical model of what happens with Bitcoin, I think that we're kind of shifting away from that. We're kind of shifting away from the standard of people taking capital out of Bitcoin and then putting it into altcoins, putting it into meme coins. I kind of think that the meme coin frenzy actually killed altcoins. Uh, Due to the fact that people put money into altcoins because they understood that I don't want the 4x, 3x, 2x in Bitcoin. I want to put it into X, Y, and Z altcoin and maybe make a 5, 10x. But then people expanded on that original thought and they said, why do I want a 10x when I could chase Fartcoin for 100x? And a lot of people, as it came out, around 90% of people got completely rinsed on every single meme coin that they've entered. A small group of people became insanely wealthy. We're talking about um, the what's his
Most of the
name?
people just
What's
rugging
his
and
name?
scamming.
The from the Libra coin, Hayden,
Elsier.
the Haydens of the world, racked up a few 100 million, life changing generational wealth. Then the Coles probably racked up each maybe 10, 15 million, 20 million. The Ansems, the Thread guys of the world, and it toppled down, and maybe a couple person, I know somebody's cousin's brother or uncle who made money on Pepe, but if you talk to most people in the long run, they're down on meme coins. So I think that kind of is going to shift it, and especially now with the big players involved, I don't know if we're going to see that huge retraction that people are waiting for, and the system is going to use it against it. You think the system wants this giant wealth transfer from this? Bitcoin is the biggest transfer of wealth in history. From extremely rich to wherever you fell into the on the economic plane. So I think that they're going to use people's hubris, that thinking that they're going to know like what the future holds, to actually take their bags, and then before they know it, pump it into a point where now even the average. I mean, we're not even going to talk about the average. Even a very well-to-do young adult in their 30s, maybe even their 40s, can never possibly buy a full Bitcoin today. They do not have $107,000 to purchase it. So they've already been. How many people have already been priced out? So imagine how many people will be priced out at $1 million. And that's what my personal opinion. That's what I think. I think that big institutions will do anything to help themselves. And now that they have skin in the game, you could bet your bottom dollar they're gonna make they're gonna try to take the money from the plebes and make themselves rich and their clients with hundreds of millions of dollars.
I think we're still in a 4-year cycle personally. I mean, we've seen the same thing like in 2020, 2021, like the NFT and the NFT and the meme market was kind of started the bear market with all that with the FTX, right? So a lot of people got priced out, and then here we are again. I think we will have an alt season. I just think that a lot of the attention is on Bitcoin with the administration and the ETFs and all these businesses, you know, stockpiling Bitcoin. But I think we will have an alt season, especially when, Bitcoin cools off and it has its glory days, which I think will happen very soon. Like the mid 120, like 120s, like you guys are saying. But I think we will see a bear market where Bitcoin does retrace, and I think eventually, I think in the coming years, I think the 4-year cycle phenomenon will be broken. I just think we're not there yet.
Yep.
I think when the
Again,
supply,
price predictions are impossible. It's just like I
I'm
do
not
think
predicting.
that we will see at least 125, 150
I'm not
this
predicting
cycle.
price. I'm just saying that I think when more Bitcoin gets stockpiled, and eventually, it won't dip as much, pretty much. So
Hmm. Because you won't have the big players just offloading to put it wherever else. That's kind of where it's been. The really big players they sell and they load it into the altcoins, and that kind of starts that momentum where
Yeah.
the big players until now they kind of had like an infinite money glitch, almost. Um, we'll see. We'll have to see exactly where it goes, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, we'll
that's
see
my
what
thought.
happens. But guys, we've been going for almost an hour now. Let's wrap this up. We can kind of continue the rest of the conversation in our private high level chat. But awesome. Sam, Leo, Josh, thank you all for joining. We
Yep.
will continue this in the WhatsApp group. See you all next time.
peace.
Take care.
Great talking to you guys. Good night.
Yep. Bye.